Well, I'm Bill Caras, and this is George Gogas. My grandfather came over from Greece around the turn of the century, and George's parents were here early on too. Most of the men that came to Missoula early on worked on the railroad, including my grandfather. That's how he got here. And George's father as well got here the same way, isn't that correct?
Right. Northern Pacific.
Northern Pacific. And so my grandfather was here a few years, and probably worked on the railroad just no more than a year before he started in his own enterprise, which was selling fruit. He started a company called Garden City Fruit Company, which became later Garden City Floral Company. He sent for his brother, and that's how some of the Greeks got here. In George's case, his father came here working on the railroad, recognized the photography around Missoula, and was attracted to being here, and stayed. And then he sent for your mother.
Well, he went over and met her, and then they married over there and immigrated.
But didn't he
here.
pick her out of a picture?
Well, yeah, that's how they did it in those days. Ladies in Greece that wanted to get married somehow had connections with people that had arrived in the United States and had, established a business or some type of permanent employment, and the marriages were arranged. But it wasn't like a mail order bride deal where they came without never having seen the other spouse. They usually met someplace, and in my case, in my dad's case, he went back there and they got married in Greece, and then they came over.
And by then he was operating a business?
Yeah, he and a cousin of his had the Palace Candy Company, which is, the building is still there. It's occupied by that futon shop right next to the Wilma Theater. That used to be the Palace Candy, but you got to remember, Palace was not Palace, it was Pallas, which goes to Pallas Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom.
That's where they came up with it, huh? But for some reason, my grandfather worked at a Greek candy shop in Chicago, and Missoula had two or three. What were they called, and who ran them?
Well, let's see. The Sunshine Candy Shop was run by the Mike and John Pappas. They were two brothers. And the high school candy shop was, which was right diagonally across from Hellgate High School. I don't know what's in there now. There was a rug company in there for a while. I don't know what's in there right now. But anyway, the high school candy shop was run by George and Nick Papantoni. And they had the best location because they could really grab those high school kids after school.
Did you patronize them when you were in high school?
No, because I could run across the bridge and get to the Palace Candy if I needed to.
So, Missoula has quite a few fairly luminous names like Lambros and Dotsopoulos and George and Caras. How did those guys, what did they do, and then how come you think their families ended up staying here?
Well, but let's see, Pete Lambros did what your dad did, but in Butte he had small fruit business, but then when he got to Missoula he purchased the Park Hotel. Park Hotel's the building that's right there at Circle Square. Was a hotel for many, many years. I think it's apartments now, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But it was a hotel for many, many years. And then he branched out into real estate. He saw the potential when World War II started, and people with any type of construction skill left Missoula for shipbuilding in Portland or the Tri-Cities or any place else where the war effort had work, and there were a lot of empty houses that could be bought, and Pete Lambros, with the aid of the Jacobses and the First National Bank, saw the future and bought who knows how much real estate. The two boys have done well with it.
Yeah, they have. And then Dotsopoulos is a really well-known name.
Right. Dotsopoulos is Gus, whose name was not Gus. Gus is not a Greek name. It's a Scandinavian name. His name was Konstantinos. Came and worked on the Northern Pacific. In fact, he he got his 50-year pin from Northern Pacific State right there. Lived in a small dwelling right there on Railroad Street, right opposite the Roundhouse. Raised a family of 4 kids.
He made sure they got educated.
Made sure they got educated. Milton says if his dad, he branched out into some real estate as well. Milton claims that if his dad understood leverage, they would never have gone to college. He wouldn't have paid for their college. He'd have invested it all in more real estate. But you know what the Desopoulos have done. I mean, John and Milton have been very successful, both in business and in when they were in high school in athletics as well.
What was it like for you as a small child in Missoula with this kind of tight-knit Greek community around?
Oh, well, for one thing, we always had a lot of parties to go to because the Greeks celebrated a lot of ethnic things. But another thing that maybe was detrimental, we all pretty much lived between Higgins and maybe Madison or Van Buren, maybe was about the limit, and then from Waterworks Hill to the river. That was pretty much where the Greeks congregated. There were others that lived like the Bravoses, who had the Grill Cafe, or were partners in the Grill Cafe. They lived out on 7th Street, and we thought, my gosh, they were out in the country. Well, there was an advantage to that because we all went to Central School, which was within a block or two of where we lived. And you could run down to the theater, was real close. Businesses were real close, you know, right on Higgins. But every family could monitor the kids of every other family, so you couldn't get away with anything. It was known immediately. If you overstepped the bounds, by the time you got home, your mother knew that you had, done something wrong. So.
Was there a lot of Greek being spoken?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. You had to learn English, though. It wasn't like it is now. English had to be spoken in school, so you had to learn English before you got to school.
So you were bilingual as a
I was bilingual as a
first
kid.
grader.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Tell us about your mother and about this.
Oh, well, I mean, Bill brought this because he owns this stuff now, but my mother did make this ethnic Greek costume and gave it to Bill for his children to wear.
This is George's old skirt.
Yeah.
This is called a fustanella.
And a little vest that went with it.
Vest.
And to this day, the Greek government still has their honor guard that wears the fustanella. You don't make fun of them if they wear little ballet skirts because they're all about the same height, 6 foot even, and they're pretty hunky guys. And I mean, they're a military honor guard, a ceremonial honor guard. And you've probably seen them in newsreels.
Mm-hmm. So your mom came over, and she was kind of arranged in a way, and then they met and married over there.
Over there.
She comes to Missoula, Montana with her husband.
Right.
And never sees her family again.
Well, she did go back, in the late 70s, but they were just relatives. She never saw her mother or dad again, or her brothers again.
So almost 50 years later.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But
was she sad about that? Do you remember?
No, my mother always had the philosophy that you went where you made your living. Greeks are scattered all over the world, and that's what they did. They just went wherever the opportunities were. And
your mother worked and worked and worked.
Yeah, she worked.
She made this. She was a seamstress and did a lot of alterations for different shops around town. A lot of private clients.
She had clients up until she was 90 years old. But my dad fed her a big line before they came over. He said, "Oh, Missoula is such a nice place. It's kind of like a little Paris." And then she stepped off the train in February of 1921 in the snow and the soot from the roundhouse, and it wasn't Paris by any stretch of the imagination.
And that house that she lived in, was your father already living there?
No, they lived in a number of houses in that area. I can kind of point them out to you, but no, they didn't have their own home until about 1930. Yeah, about 1930.
And you were born in?
Well, I was born in 29.
29.
Yeah.
He says that kind of quietly. He said
I'm an old guy.
29. So the Greeks would get together for St. Demetrius Day, Greek Independence Day. What
Greek
other?
Independence Day. Well, even your birthday or your name day, the 1st of January, St. Basil's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any ethnic or religious holiday, they usually got together. Rented the Eagles Hall, which was about where the central parking garage is now, above the Turf. Remember where the Turf restaurant was? Yeah.
Now this second wave of Greeks that opened up all the gyro shops.
Yeah.
Was that in the 70s? When they
Yeah.
came? And how did they
some
get here?
some came a little earlier than that. Petru, who's interred back over this way, he came in the late 50s, and others came in the 60s. I can't give you much information on those people.
Well, I just thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
But you can give us information on the original families. Let's just rattle them
yeah.
off, because it'll be good for me to hear them all. Pappas and...
Yeah, there were two different Pappas families. One was Peter Pappas and his wife Athena. Reni's still living. He worked on the railroad. The other two Pappases, Mike and John, they went into the candy store business. They had the Sunshine Candy. They married American ladies like your dad or your grandfather did. But they lived over there on Spruce Street. They were all, in that vicinity. Lurbuses were there. Pete and oh gosh, can't remember her name right offhand. But Pouloses were right there. Pouloses, Sam and Mary, and his brother Bill, and George Bravos. They had the Grill Cafe, and the Grill Cafe. How could I describe that? It was, if you know where the dark room is, if you come around the corner from the dark room and you go west on Main Street, there's a building there with kind of a white ceramic facade. That used to be the Grill Cafe. Not
Dotsopoulos, Lambros.
Dotsopoulos came and worked on the railroad, right? Colocatrones came in later because Colocatrones, Pete's dad was established in Three Forks on the Milwaukee Road. Pete came over here later.
So those are people that maintained their name pretty much. Poulos was a shortened version.
Yeah.
But my grandfather's name was Karakitsos, and he shortened it to Caras. And that wasn't too uncommon. A lot of times they would pick shortened versions that weren't so difficult. Yeah. But who's Harry Bates?
Oh, Harry Bates. Well, I'll tell you about Harry Bates. But first, can't forget Andrew George, because that's Alex's dad. Andrew and Elaney, they're interred right over in this northwest corner, which we call Greektown. I mean, there's so many of them up there. And he was a 50-year man on the Northern Pacific as well, and he stuck with it. And well, everybody knows Alex, so Alex George is the son. Georgia, who married Hightower, Art Hightower, was the daughter. But Harry Bates was my godfather. Harry Bates was, he was born, I would say probably in the 1870s, because he was a little older fellow. But he came to the Western Hemisphere to work on the Panama Canal.
What was his name originally?
His real name was Haralambos Batatis, but they changed his name to Harry Bates. I mean, this was very common, but anyway, he came into Missoula, liked it, stayed, and went into business with a guy named Tom Theros, and they had, anybody here is old enough to remember the Pony Cafe. The Pony Cafe, the building no longer exists, but if you know where Yellowstone Photo is, which used to be Bob Ward's, there's a space between Yellowstone Photo and the alley. That long spot that's where the Pony Cafe was. It burned down in the early 60s.
So in the 30s and 40s, you had 3 or 4 restaurants.
Oh yeah.
A couple, 3 candy shops.
And you had Calas's that had the Missoula shoe shine and shoe repair. Calas's were about where Desmond's is right now. Just about where Desmond's is, just south of where the dark room is on Higgins. And they did, I mean, this doesn't seem like you would have these two businesses together. You had a guy, 2 guys in there, because Calas's had a partner in there that were doing shoe repair and shoe shine. And then they blocked hats, cleaned and blocked hats. Now, they must have had to wash their hands a lot between shoe shining and blocking hats. But nevertheless, that was their business, and they did well there. The Calas family, maybe Chris could be interred here, but Artemis was, she went back east when all the kids got married and went back east. Well, somebody might know Gus Calas. His name was Constantine too. He worked for the railroad.
Now your mom, wasn't she right there in a little tailoring shop someplace downtown? Is that where she worked from, or she always worked from home?
Oh no. When my father passed away, my mother went to work, and some of you ladies are too young to remember, but there was a really nice lady shop on the 8th floor of the Wilma building called King's Dress Salon. She started working for Mrs. King at that time. And then alteration, and then she went with the Missoula Mercantile when Mrs. King left to go back to Texas. And then when Angelo came in and branched out from menswear to include women's wear, then she went to work for Angelo. That was kind of ethnic.
Angelo was a Greek.
Oh yeah, she always, made sure that he towed the line.
Yeah. So as a young man, you had all these Greek men around you. Sounds like.
Yeah. It was a lot of mentoring and a lot of bonding. And if you were accepted by them, it was a pretty good feeling. Yeah, it really was.
Any questions?
Especially into the dance circle.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know it might be looked at rather strange now, men dancing with men, but it was very common and an accepted thing. In fact, women weren't invited into certain dances because the dance steps were slightly different, and the patriotic feeling was a little different, macho quality that went on there.
So could you ever take the handkerchief and jump over it?
No, but I held onto the handkerchief at the front end of the line a number of times with great pride. It was a good way to grow up, no doubt about it.